Hello guys and welcome to Code Shortcut. So guys, in this video we are going to discuss how can we implement Google register login functionality in Laravel 11. So without wasting any further time, let's start. Let's move to step number 1, which says that we need to create a fresh Laravel project with Breeze authentication so that we have a default authentication in place using which we can test our Google register login functionality. Two commands to create fresh Laravel project. If you have Laravel globally installed, you can simply use this command. If you don't have Laravel globally installed, you can simply use this command. In this case, I'm going to create this fresh project with you so that I can guide you step by step. Let's move to Git Bash. I have already accessed the htdocs right here. Now I have Laravel globally installed, so I can simply do Laravel new and my project name, in this case Google one, because I'm using Google for Hindi Urdu lecture. Hit enter. It is going to ask us about the starter kit. As discussed, we will select Breeze. Now it is asking us about the stack, so we can simply select Blade. Dark mode, no. Testing framework, 0 or pest. Hit enter. And now it is going to take some time for the execution, so I'm just going to pause the video. Okay guys, so it will prompt you about the database selection. So we are going to select MySQL. Hit enter. Do we need to run the database migration and create the database? In this case, no. Why? Because we are going to add an additional Google ID column in our users table. So you need to select no. Hit enter. Okay guys, so our project is ready, which means we can move to step number 2, which is saying we need to access the project. So let's do that. Let's move to Git Bash cd Google 1, and I have already accessed it on the Sublime side right here. Okay, let's move to step number 3. Modify the user table and user model. So as I said, we need to add a Google ID column to our user table, which is right here. So I'm just going to copy this schema. Let's move to Sublime, database, migration, users table, and I'm going to replace this one. Okay, just like that. Once done, now let's copy this part. Okay, and let's move to user model, user.php right here, paste it, align it and save it. Okay, once done, we can simply run our migration. So let's copy this. Let's move to Git Bash, paste it, hit enter. Do you want to create the database? Yes, and we need to run the migration as well. Done. Now we can simply move to step number 4, install Socialite package. So let's copy this command. Let's move to Git Bash once again. You don't need to stop or pause the video at any point, because I'm going to provide the blog post link in the description. Okay, so let's paste it, hit enter. Now once again, I'm going to pause the video. Okay guys, so the package is successfully installed. We can move to step number 5, which says that we need to obtain a Google App ID and App Secret. So let's copy this link, or you can simply move to Google Developer Console. So let's move here, paste it, hit enter. Now we need to create a project. So let's do that. Let's define the project name. In this case, let's say Google Login. I used it already for the blog post and the Hindi Urdu lecture. So let's create it. It's in progress. Okay guys, done. So now we can simply access it. Let's move to Google Cloud. Okay, so now just make sure that you are using the correct project that we just created. Now let's move to API and services. Now let's move to credentials. So in order to create credentials, we must configure the auth consent screen. So we need to move here. Okay, I just wanted to show you. So let's move to consent screen. From the user type, we need to select the external. We won't be able to use the internal. So external and create. Now we need to define at least 3 things right here. So project name or app name, in this case Laravel, or whatever you want to define. Support email. Okay, it should be your email. And then the developer email. Once again, it should be your email. All about Laravel@gmail.com. Okay, now just keep that in mind. Since we are in the testing phase, we don't need to provide the logo, domain, privacy link, services link, etc. But once you have tested this functionality and it's working fine, and now you are planning to move it to the production environment, you must define all these fields. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Save and continue. Scope, we don't need to do anything. Save and continue. Now right here, test user, we need to define the test user. Why? I will tell you. First, let's add the user. Add user. Once again, same user. All about Laravel@gmail.com. You can define multiple user, whatever email you have, you can define it. But just keep that in mind. For the testing purpose, you will only be able to log in with Google using these test user, because our application is in test phase and this is how Google works. So once you are in testing phase, right here it's mentioned, you will be only able to test it with the test user. So you can define multiple user right here. Just keep that in mind if you are going to try and logging in the testing phase. Once your application is published and is in the production environment, no problem, any user can log in. But regarding the testing phase, you must define the test user. Other than that, no other user would be able to access the application. So just keep that in mind. Okay, save and continue. Okay guys, so it's done. Now we can simply move to credentials. Now let's do create credentials, auth client ID. Okay guys, so now we need to select the application type, web application, and now we need to define the app URL and Google callback URL. So let's do Google callback URL because I have already copied it from that page. So let's paste it right here. So your application, in this case, since we are on the local host, so localhost port auth Google callback, and right here we need to define just the app URL. In this case, localhost colon 88,000 or whatever port you are using. Just keep that in mind. You need to make sure that you are defining everything correctly. Like if you are mentioning 8,000 here, you need to mention it right here as well. And if there is any change, for example, you are not using any sort of port, you don't need to, you can simply remove it from here and here. Okay, just keep that in mind and make sure that you are passing everything correctly. Create. Once done, you will be able to get the client ID and secret. So let's copy and save it somewhere. Okay guys, so I have already saved it. Now let's move and let's configure the Google authentication. So let's move down right here. Yeah, so now let's copy this. Let's move to config services.php. So let's move from here, config services at the bottom. Let's paste it right here. Let's align it, but we need to fix this first. Yeah, fine. Now we need to define the keys in the env. So for that, let's copy this. Let's move to .env at the bottom right here. Okay, so just make sure that you are passing the callback correctly. If you are using a different port, you need to make the changes right here as well. If you are not using a port, these three fields should be same, like the Google URL callback right here, the URI and the other JavaScript origin. Okay, just make sure. Once done, now we can simply define a Google client ID right here. You need to define it now, and your client secret right here. Okay, so let's just do that and I will meet you in the next step. Okay guys, so I have already defined my client ID and client secret. We can move to step number 6, which says that we need to create the social controller. So let's copy this command. Let's move to git bash. Let's paste this command right here, hit enter. Once done, we need to copy this and we need to paste it in our social controller because it is going to handle the Google authentication. Okay, so let's move to social controller, control A, control V, just like that. Once again, we have two methods, just like Facebook one, Google redirect, which is going to handle the redirect to Google for authentication purposes. And in the login with Google, we are going to try to retrieve the user whoever is trying to log in using the Google. We are going to retrieve that user to check if that specific user exists in our database already or not. If the user already exists, we just need to log him in. If not, we need to create that user. Like it's a new user and we need to create it and we need to redirect back to the dashboard. Sorry, right here. Okay. And let's say if anything goes south, we can simply handle it right here. It's up to you. Okay. So yeah, let's move to step number 7, create routes. So let's copy this. Let's move to web.php. Let's move it down just like that. So this route is going to handle the Google redirect, and using this route, we are going to hit login with Google. Okay, let's move forward. Step number 8, add Google login link to register or login blade. It's totally up to you. If you want, you can define it on both as well. It's totally up to you. But for testing purpose, I'm just going to do it for the register page. So let's copy this. This is just a separator for the, it is pointing us that we need to define everything just below the register button. So let's move to Sublime, resources, views, auth register. Let's move to bottom. This is our register button, so we need to define everything right here. Okay, align it, and let me fix the and justify it to the center. So justify center, so everything is aligned on the front page. Okay, now we can test it. So PHP artisan serve, done. Let's access our project. Okay, now let's move to register. And right here you can see we have our login with Google. If you want, you can change it to register with Google, login with Google. It's totally up to you. And also if you want to implement it on the login page as well, it's totally up to you. You can define it on both as well as advised. Okay, so let's click on login with Google. Okay, so in this case, it is going to prompt us to select the user. In this case, I have defined the test user as all about Laravel, so I'm going to use the same user. Okay, just keep that in mind, because if you try another user, you won't be able to log in because our application status is testing. Okay, so let's click on it, continue, and we are successfully redirected to our dashboard. You can see the details right here as well. Okay, so which means everything is working like a charm. So yeah guys, that's about it from this specific video. I hope you guys like this video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe and share. Thank you, take care, and yes guys, be ready for the next one. Okay, take care.